The room was quiet. Too quiet. Machines hummed softly in the background while nurses moved with controlled urgency. Just hours earlier, the world had been celebrating. A healthy baby. A triumphant moment. Cameras flashing in headlines across the globe. But inside that hospital room in September 2017, Serena Williams couldn't breathe. Her chest tightened. A familiar pressure. Not panic. Not nerves. Something worse. Something she had felt before. She knew that feeling. Years earlier, a pulmonary embolism had nearly taken her life. And now, after giving birth by C-section, the same terrifying sensation crept back into her lungs. She told the nurse she needed a CT scan. Immediately, she knew her body. There was hesitation. Maybe it was anxiety, they suggested. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe fear. But Serena insisted. She had spent her entire life fighting for every point, every title, every ounce of respect. And now she was fighting for something much more fragile: breath. The scan confirmed it. Blood clots in her lungs. If she had stayed quiet, if she had waited, if she had trusted someone else's assumption over her own instinct, would the greatest champion in modern tennis have survived that night? That question lingers. Because the tragedy of Serena Williams was never just about one medical emergency. It was about a lifetime of battles, some on the court, many far beyond it. Before the hospital room, before the fear, there was dominance. 23 Grand Slam singles titles. The most in the Open era. 7 Australian Opens, 7 Wimbledons, 6 US Opens, 3 French Opens, 4 Olympic gold medals, 319 weeks ranked world number 1, including 186 consecutive weeks, tying the longest streak in history. She didn't just win tournaments. She bent eras around her dot. She turned power into poetry. Her serve became a weapon that rewrote strategy in women's tennis. Her speed silenced doubters. Her resilience shattered expectations. Stadiums filled just to watch her walk onto the court. Arthur Ashe Stadium would rise before she even struck the first ball. She wasn't just an athlete. She was a cultural force, a symbol of dominance forged from discipline. But power has a strange shadow. The higher you rise, the more the world studies your fall. Long before she was lifting trophies under the bright lights of New York, Serena was a little girl in Compton, California. The courts weren't polished. They were cracked. Fences rattled in the wind. Sirens sometimes drowned out the bounce of a tennis ball. Her father, Richard Williams, had no traditional coaching background. No country club connections. No elite pipeline. Just a plan scribbled in notebooks and a belief so large it bordered on impossible. Every day, he brought Serena and her sister Venus to public courts where not everyone welcomed them. They didn't belong there. Some muttered they didn't look the part. They didn't fit the image. The message wasn't always loud, but it was constant. They didn't want her there. They didn't want 2 black girls from Compton dominating a sport historically shaped by privilege and tradition. They didn't want her power. So she trained harder, under the sun, under the stairs, under the tension. When she entered professional tournaments, the hostility didn't disappear. It evolved. The whispers became headlines. Too muscular. Too aggressive. Too emotional. Her body became commentary. Her confidence became controversy. When male players shattered rackets, it was passion. When Serena did it, it was anger. When she roared after a point, it was labeled intimidation. When others roared, it was celebrated as fire. The double standard wasn't subtle. It was structural. Cartoons caricatured her. Commentators dissected her physique instead of her footwork. Questions about her femininity crept into interviews disguised as curiosity. And still she won. That was her rebellion. But winning didn't shield her from pain. In 2011, Years before the hospital scare after childbirth, Serena faced a different kind of silence. A pulmonary embolism sidelined her career. Blood clots, surgery, recovery that stretched longer than anyone predicted. For an athlete whose identity was movement, being forced to stand still was torture. There's a loneliness in recovery no crowd can fill. No applause can heal. She returned. Of course she did. Champions don't retire quietly when doubt circles them. She came back and reclaimed the top ranking again. Another reminder that she wasn't done. But time is undefeated. In 2018, at the US Open final, tension erupted. A code violation. A heated exchange with the umpire. A crowd divided. A narrative exploded across media platforms within minutes. Some saw an athlete defending herself. Others saw rage. The punishment felt heavier than the moment. The debate grew louder than the match itself. And suddenly, the conversation wasn't about tennis again. It was about attitude. Respectability. Control. The system had rules. But who did those rules bend for? The pressure wasn't just to win. It was to win gracefully. To lose quietly. To never show frustration too strongly. To represent more than herself every time she stepped onto the court. That weight is invisible, but it crushes. And then came motherhood. Society loves the image of a triumphant comeback mother. The narrative writes itself. Strong woman returns to conquer the world again. Reality is less cinematic. After surviving childbirth complications, Serena faced surgeries, immobility, vulnerability. She couldn't walk easily, couldn't train the same way, couldn't simply flip a switch and return to dominance. Her body, once the most feared instrument in tennis, now felt unpredictable. Every comeback attempt carried unspoken pressure. Each final loss after returning from maternity leave deepened the narrative. Maybe her time was over. 4 Grand Slam finals after becoming a mother. 4 losses. Close. Painfully close. The margins in elite sport are microscopic. A few points. A moment of hesitation. A flash of doubt. And doubt creeps in differently at 37, 38, 39 than it does at 22. The headlines began shifting. Not about what she could do, but about what she used to be. That's the quiet tragedy of greatness. The world celebrates your rise. It scrutinizes your aging. At 44, Serena stands in a different arena now. Business ventures, advocacy, fashion, motherhood, investment portfolios. She has built an empire beyond tennis. But the competitor never truly disappears. Imagine dedicating your entire life to being the best in the world at one thing, and then walking away from it. The silence. After the roar. The absence of routine, of training schedules, of match day adrenaline. For decades, her worth was measured in trophies and titles. Now, the measure is different. Internal, personal. There's courage in stepping away before the sport pushes you out completely. In choosing evolution over erosion. Her final matches weren't perfect. They were emotional, imperfect, human. Crowds stood not just for a champion, but for a journey. And maybe that's where the heartbreak truly lies. Not in defeat, not in injury, but in understanding that even legends are mortal. Even icons feel fear in hospital rooms. Even the strongest must demand to be heard when their voice is dismissed. If this story shifts the way you see Serena, not just as a champion, but as a survivor, take a moment to subscribe. Because behind every icon is a human story rarely told in full. What makes Serena's journey so powerful isn't that she won 23 Grand Slams. It's that she survived. Everything surrounding those wins. The prejudice, the scrutiny, health scares, the expectations, the impossible standard of perfection. Her tragedy isn't a fall from grace. It's the cost of carrying greatness for so long. And at 44, perhaps the most radical thing she has done isn't dominating a court doc, it's redefining what strength looks like when the spotlight fades. Strength is insisting on a CT scan when no one listens. Strength is returning after blood clots. Strength is losing in front of millions and still standing tall. Strength is choosing family without apology. So, here's the question that lingers long after the trophies are polished and the stadium lights dim. Was Serena Williams' greatest victory ever really about tennis? Or was it about surviving a world that constantly tested whether she deserved to breathe, to belong, to be powerful on her own terms? What do you think was the true turning point in her story? The championships, the controversies, or that quiet hospital?